Hey you guys, what's going on? So if you're like me, you're kind of getting bottlenecked on these resources like Rawhide, Iron Chunks, and Obducite. Does that sound kind of familiar? So Diablo IV Season 6, I've been going through it too, and I've just recently gone through 3 different activity types that are readily available to anybody, and I want to show you how much time I spent at each one of these events and what the yield was for the rewards that we're looking for. Things like Nightmare Dungeons, Infernal Hordes, and the Undercity using a very particular tribute. So no BS, straight to the point, this is what I ran, and this is what the data shows me. Let's dig right in. Kicking things off in this test was the Infernal Hordes. Everything was 10 waves and all Torment 4. Of the 3 runs that I did, the first run netted me 687 ether and took me 13 minutes and 39 seconds. While the second run took me 13 minutes 12 seconds, I got 659 ether. And finally, which was my best run, was my 847 ether solo run, and that took me 13 minutes and 32 seconds. If you looked at all the different rewards that we got throughout every single run in the Infernal Hordes, it averages out like this. The average time spent in 3 different Infernal Hordes on Torment 4 with a Crushing Hand Gorilla build was an average time of 13 minutes 24 seconds. The average Iron Chunks I got from all 3 runs was about 57, the average Rawhide I netted was about 93, and the average Obducite overall was 4,067. Now this isn't to say you couldn't do better. If you're acquiring a higher score in the Infernal Hordes, that's fantastic. Your yield's going to be greater than mine. This is my average run. But the thing that's frustrating about the Infernal Hordes is the Soul Spires and the lack of certainty in the events that you're getting. Oftentimes you might have the run of your life and you net like 1,400 ether. Well, that wasn't the situation for me. I had actually a tough time finding the Hellborn and the elites that I wanted. And so I think one of the problems with the Infernal Horde structure when you're looking for actual rewards is that you actually have no control over the reward generators and the events that happen wave after wave after wave. So this is what the Infernal Horde netted me. Let's check out the next event. Nightmare Dungeons. These are not ones that I've handpicked. These are just random sigils that I got by playing content in the world. So let's see how that went. The first Nightmare Dungeon that I ran was Calibel's Mine. I completed it in 3 minutes 38 seconds and I got 45 Iron Chunks, 80 Rawhide, and 1,077 Obducite. The second Nightmare Dungeon was the Howling Warren that I was able to complete in 1 minute 58 seconds. The yield from that was 47 Iron Chunks, 100 Rawhide, and about 902 Obducite. Finally was the last Nightmare Dungeon in the list, Uldur's Cave. Good old Uldur's. 3 minutes and 29 seconds. Uldur's was cleared in. It yielded 37 Iron Chunks, gave me about 100 Rawhide, and 1,200 Obducite. So all things being done, the average time spent in the Nightmare Dungeons was 3 minutes and 1 second, and the average yield for Iron Chunks was 43, Rawhide average was 93, and the average Obducite that I got per run was about 1,060. Now, the nice part is, you're banging out these Nightmare Dungeons, life can happen, and you might even want to choose the particular ones that you want to get maybe more experience, maybe more gold. At least you have some amount of control over those Nightmare Dungeons. And if you look at that, I'm getting done these things in roughly about 3 minutes or maybe 2 minutes. So if you're playing a similar build, similar gear, then you could achieve the same thing. And for the time spent and life happening around you, this might be the kind of content you want to run. Checking out the last event in our test here, it is the Undercity using the unique tribute of refinement. This tribute is in the game and designed specifically to give me materials like this that I'm looking for. So let's see how these 3 runs went. The first run was done in 4 minutes and 4 seconds, which gave me 56 Iron Chunks, 80 Rawhide, and 2,000 Obducite. In the second run, it took me 4 minutes and 30 seconds, in which I got 35 Iron Chunks, 100 Rawhide, and again, 2,000 Obducite, pretty consistent. In the third run, it took me 4 minutes 40 seconds, in which I got 64 Iron Chunks, 100 Rawhide, and 2,000 Obducite. Now, just remember that this takes me time from going into the Undercity, then traveling all the way to the blacksmith to salvage and break down any gear that I have so I can add that to the grand total for the entire event. It's not just what I get at the chest. Sometimes I get gear, and if I don't need the gear, I salvage it at the blacksmith. So, breaking down all of the Undercity events, the average time that it took me per Undercity run with the Tribute of Refinement, no bargain by the way, was 4 minutes 25 seconds. The average yield here was 52 Iron Chunks, the average Rawhide was 93, and the Obducite was actually pretty fantastic, and a consistent 2,000. And again, this only took me roughly 4 minutes 25 seconds to do with a build like this. So when you look at all 3 of these formats as you break them down, I'm trying to be as succinct as I can. The Nightmare Dungeon offers you pretty exclusive stuff that other formats here don't, with the highest ceiling in my opinion. If you are going to use an opal from like the Realm Walker because you've got it, you could also use these opals to give you additional masterworking materials if that's something you want to do. I didn't do it in our test because I tried to be very authentic with like what the results were. So in the vein of using opals and all this, you're going to complete more Nightmare Dungeons per hour than any of the other content, so the yield from that benefit of that item will be even higher for you. In addition, you can get even more XP, which is going to help you in Paragon levels, because Nightmare Dungeons have like this exclusive well that gives you 15% additional experience. So you put all these things together, I just think that Nightmare Dungeons per run are going to give you the highest ceiling of opportunity when it comes to Iron Chunks, Rawhide, and Obducite. If you have unlimited materials and stuff like that, the best obol farm right now is going to be the Undercity using the Tribute of Refinement. That just will yield 2,000 Obducite per run. But on average, if you don't have that because you are going to run out, Nightmare Dungeons are the one for me. Curious to hear what you guys think. If you want to go ahead and let me know in the comments below, I read them all. I am going to put the data that came from all these different runs so you can check that out. And also just, yeah, let me know your thoughts are. See if you're doing the same thing. And I'm curious to find out how your Infernal Hordes stack up to Nightmare Dungeons or Undercity if you're running it too. Small sample size, 3 of each run. But I gotta tell you, it was pretty clean and pretty clear set in my mind. Nightmare Dungeons, not even close. Hope this video helps you out. Catch you guys in the next one.